Hi daily updates mamunyina kwaba sese ne dedika na hwa na so subscribe so ben sa pepe my se ne bia dan de nyina no e de bounce so because I kebi na so I de hu niam e koso Ghana fa na nyina na osusu I de hu de obeye so bre yenko yenim ne fa de o ne mawe sabri tu fa de ni achi mo Ashanti region che say 24 hours economy no ayi butu achi say e pressure pa na Mahama mount on people in Ashanti region just easy. Bibi obitima den say sin bokas. Oh, she say the massa NPP ne dominate wo Ashanti region bia no entro because the course we see are there say spare odi ability just say Rawlings crampo e den suggestion about just say wa kasa pa nga sanketo kam ho ninkuti nsima Rawlings just on so ababonten edifa a name of Ashanti region just Mahama so I akwakopi mo yasem
no the way it's picking up no and in KUMASI
yeah
you know how it is it's a good sign
but evidentially may back to argument that we raised a while ago said was say yes I rethinking about said ye Asante mine na manual se many said ye am for dream say why a stronghold ma NPP evidentially no ye to aba man do na e kwa NPP afemo eno ne ma for dreams are but a nanti ya o man nanti obi send a message on Facebook say remember NPP for heart attack for the optics ayana
of course definitely because I mean at the end of the day so while we shut down now we am sure say if you're not in support of it we am sure but in reality I think I'm say about a year and a half ago branch no I'm say almost 2 years ago started the reorganization within the party started branch elections in Manema Sano. I think on a few public platforms, even the then General Secretary and now Oye Chairman was talking about the fact that, in some of the places I war Ashanti region, some of our branches were non-existent. So if your branches are non-existent, please tell me how you can monitor a situation and let the all the excitement translate into votes.
That's right.
So in America say, unless you have a real clear strategy, I would say yes, we have people. How do we make sure that the people can go and vote? How can we make sure we protect their votes? If you don't have that in place and you're not keeping an eye on it, it's not magic. There's a science to elections. All I'm saying and I say, everything that we've seen is because ABI, Yafano say, votes, let's focus elsewhere. It's time to understand that our focus must be on the whole country because the whole country is suffering. And in so doing, so one who said, baby, are now would drain say only votes, one who say failure, you are getting support, then you must make sure so support's now war or now. What do we need? The optics, must translate into tangible votes come December 7th.
Awesome. Attâĉks-Zanetor, Rawlings, honorable member of Parliament, manage your war, colleague Clote, and Spodrishie, the coolest constituency. One case on Spodrishie, ya your way. Any no may be an answer, yedi aswa te say wo yoyo enra na me busa akura kofi da ko say obafia be busa say try person yes atuma enti no ani abre ana and as there's a genuine interest person puntro about on peswa so
I would say maybe what is happening differently and say we are showing more of what we've been doing nyama na ye na nya na start here I'm say I better to say I call around and profobisa say oh nyama ya wo say why ye entire almost as if the complete redistribution of the wealth of this country into the hands of a few. Now the American like you have to go and figure out, you can see what is going on. Those who are struggling more and more each day. One ma just say ya no ma ye one mo say asasi ye one mo dia bibia Ghana dia it looks as though they're just taking over everything without thinking about the next generation. And it's not as if one more dia one japadia was so one foul. This is Ghana's resources. I was say any government so when say you are really serving the people, you must understand that there must be equitable distribution of resources. But those who are the most vulnerable must be, catered to. Now it's as if you don't belong to a certain group or you are not in their focus. Let's just say, oh dear.
But at the end they show bukutupa. At the end the town mechi. At the end I'm on home panya. Omoshi my dear ye Ghana for dear and ye from them. Is it the case? Omo ye bibia wo mra kwaso a Obient mini omunjechini, titru, and Sasia, like a year bushia, Fobidia, Yabeshime from Monsemi.
Oh, it's actually quite surprising, and it's a question. Yeah, as a mommy be something all the time because I'm asking myself, saying, "Ghana pan, you may pia and crofo they're using their incumbency to do our end, It's almost as if, well, initially, started, people were speaking out. There were demonstrations.
Yes.
There were whistleblowers within the system. But they went after people who were actually raising objections to things. In to say anybody who was trying to stand up and speak out against what was happening. What happened to the Auditor General? Who came to work as a Ghanaian and left as a Togolese or something. You understand? You know, where different ways, as a woman, technicalities are, woman they destroy people's, whether one way or find a way of clearing them out of the system. And it's created almost a culture of silence and I think a little bit of frustration and fear. But I bet to say Ghana for a lot of people have resigned themselves to the fact that okay, fine. So elections no air into year train.
But in a democracy, no, anything
the checks and balances.
Yes, and careful.
Yes. Well, this is another dangerous weakness of our democracy. Because even though you can't say we have a hung parliament, no, we have 275 members of parliament, 137 NDC, 137 NPP. One independent who is aligned with NPP.
Yeah.
That means they are the majority.
Wow.
Which means when there's anything, even when we have our full complement, that is the weakness. And you see, if you look at it from a distance, it doesn't make sense. One person. But that is the reality by simple majority. Unless a specific situation where a cancer say a woman person be pass here, you need 2/3 majority. In which case they need a third from our side. But by and large, majority of things are also look. There are a few things on the floor. I just say private members' bills are, and also for example, certain proposals are Omodiako speaker and chain. Saying that these are some of the things they want to talk about, or even they've actually, put a few issues on the floor, which they would like us to debate on. Because yeni majority, we are not able to even push far enough for the thing to even come on the floor for us to address it. Because of the numbers. Inti, when we play games, so Mamenka let me put it differently. Say binum edge and chain, can say, oh, sa a NDC MP crapo, you bet you
If you say.
For whatever reason. What happens is the knock-on effect of targeting even one parliamentary seat is you may lose the opportunity to put the checks and balances in place. It's bad to say Parliament, the legislative arm, ideally should have that oversight role and should be able to be a check on the executive. I bear to say, by and large, rubber stamping of whatever is coming from the executive. So it makes it extremely difficult. So the perception, NSA, Parliament is not working the way it should. Yes, in a way, because from the point of view of Parliament ought to play that checking role on the executive. But so often I said the opposition, into me, and yet we don't have the numbers. Into when we are voting, the votes do matter, and every seat counts. I'll use this opportunity to appeal to people. Say a percent Parliament actually playing a role properly. Then we should not dismiss the importance of every single parliamentary seat towards that role, that oversight role. I was say a legislative, arm, a play over the executive. Because bear in mind, there's already some weakness in the say. President, the appointees, must come from Parliament.
That's right.
Majority should be from Parliament.
Yeah.
He said that is the case. You have a hybrid situation, which means that Obia or a minister of a particular sector, no, criticizing the Parliament, so original I can't say Papa no it's affecting the whole country negatively. Now for them, they need to take a principled position. After a while, I think you remember once the motion came onto the floor after we had gone through the entire process, we did not win it because they realigned with the party position, and what that meant was say ye ni no womo gina homo yes our press conference now womo say onko ne niema no at the end of the day to aba no say fine onko no they didn't participate in the agreement that papa no enko na obi foforo embegina ne nan mu a Ministry of Finance. So there is an inherent weakness that's happening where I bear to say the party is so strong in its reach within the legislative arm of Parliament that even when there's a situation where you should be able to stand up on principle, now kase sasemi yes yenjina sasemi so I don't agree with it. It becomes a danger to your existence as a member of Parliament in that sense. Inti binum pia just say 115 position on issue is because we've seen from the 7th Parliament there were some ministers or members of the NPP who also took a position on certain things. They didn't. So it was almost a strong message. Say, wow, be yes, you bet clear with her. And Parliament keeps losing a lot of very good material because of this thing that keeps happening. And Tiama, it has made the culture of silence in a way, has grown a bit more. And then also the weight of Parliament. Oversight role, I was say a place, you bet check executive. It's really not happening the way it should. And you're breaking our cycle away. And look, MPP and this and no, I mean what was asking me. That's a Attâĉks-Zanetor Rawlings. Zebia Munina Musi. Now what principal stanza? 1 minute near 1 shot, a bit my toe. Or you go on ahead and take that principal stance and make it known. To be very honest, my doing things or not doing things is not based on a fear of ombeto abama me na, because if that was what it was based on, say me campaign na me no nka said me no nyasa na me no. Because the reality is you do things on principle. So okase bibia obey bibia because of votes and I think at the end of the day the reality is we must be principled in what we do. We must be, because you have a problem in that. How are you different? What are you doing differently? Yes, I think what I will say is you've seen the way I've taken a position on issues over the years.
That's right.
When by God's grace we come to power,
I'm more majority.
Just keep your eye on me.
Okay.
And not just that. For me, we have to be checks on one another. Inti se bibi wohona BBC. Now you feel say as your representative. Because your constituency nini. So feel say as your representative where your government muna BBC na it is wronger. Now means me and wanka. You must bring it to my notice, whether privately or publicly. Because at the end of the day, we're here to serve the people and the interests of this country. But just to quickly just deviate, na member maybe I'm a constituent no. Minim sa wonim your public private institution IFN Design and Technology Institute. Somewhere around Legon area honum. 1 more year vocational training. It's more or less an NVTI school. Many 11 students young people, youth, new students. Selected free the different electoral areas. And they were more alcohol. Now, sa school way, I will encourage you to Google it and have a look at it. Very, very, very good. To be quite honest, MPP if they knew really what they were about, they needed to use that as a gold standard for what the vocational training should be. It's a fully sponsored the cost of their state tuition there, and it's a boarding facility as well. So they have a hostel. They're provided with meals. They do training for them, and it's a holistic approach. It is also the work ethics. The said you see Juma Ubeko baby we with Juma Ubia to who said baby of free no train na the mount. Said you fit well in an institution, how you can say a train and no very, very important. I felt say you can't say we want to empower the youth and ya kasan kwana de na sebi ampa sika hiya nyina but enya say bechi sika and ebema youth no age na woman. So if you empower the youth with the know-how, with the means and the opportunity, they want to stand on their own 2 feet and determine their own destiny. For me, this was a tangible way in which we do such a thing to support your youth. Now, I got about
yeah, Semonti, it is my near bay, I just say Papa J Bay and Semodi to Janet Emudo ye papa, the near bree papa, I just say, yes, thank you. We is not honest, and I breaking him down. I mean, who say, Sa by our tissues, Sa by our tissues. So then, if you ma want to make ground for the sense in the bonkase region way and Yama Cosimo, region and Yaman Cosimo. Ebi ni hosa o ebi ni hosa omoko parliament so MP ni so person ti general born constituency so sikamba yehwe ni me koso so o wona bem na se opesa o kasa so ye be fa kwani ase bia so de ayefum chese o chire aya we tactics a chese omotimidi aklusi obia ano up chese omadi aka obia no atum because see what be when bia no not Rawlings, I just almost say, as a domako and who school, I could see sad training na much. When be on the first way you were free a year system, yes, if you're more or more you were free system, now my work or not, on beating my such saying as because of the dom level a year example in the 2 judges say, all church and mammy home. Or can be big across of Ashanti region, I to say, all church and name cause or cause is it Ashanti region there, forget to what is say dear. Maybe beer chess and name da kama because a fame ananka a party also way sisini na kugu to mean in the case in is a minimum go as a pato internet a Mahama 24 hours economy no the copy watch say work on a shares no the beer cost to more beer which is result nankasanga so bonting I say a show say NDC they are leading in comfortable leader just when you say the mama namusumia the muhu dear cost baby afini ashasi yenyewe intese nko baby a won subscribe so subscribe my se na bia dan den nyine de ba so no on sabe ko so ke bi na so ho ni me ko so ga na fene nyina ko comment section no ho se o dia di data bi enim de obetrash obi man constructing se na be a yin bit makan kan nya ni age abom yen se obrede busan for